Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Raja Umar on my channel RU Speaks, and because of the Eid holidays I was not making these videos for you, but now I'm back on my task, and we are discussing the subjects of Pakistan studies, both components history, geography, and the global perspectives of IGCSE. Now we are moving ahead towards the next topic. Before that, just a reminder to all of you that please do not forget to subscribe, watch, like, comment, and share my channel RU Speaks. Today's topic is related to the next phase of history. We had already discussed up to the roundtable conferences, and when those roundtable conferences got failed, the British government started thinking otherwise, that the British government had given the opportunity to the locals, whether the Congress or the All India Muslim League, to draft their own constitution or to suggest the viable and acceptable proposals regarding the making of the new constitution of the subcontinent, but eventually all failed. First, British government tried by itself to bring those proposals in the form of Simon Commission, but they were rejected by the locals. Nehru report presented by the Congress, rejected by both Muslims and the British. Jinnah presented his famous 14 points, rejected by Congress and the British. Then Allahabad address, totally rejected by Congress and the British. Then roundtable conferences, they all turned up failed, leading to giving a greater opportunity, a sort of giving to open hand to the British to draft the constitution of their own without the consultation of the locals, and that was the Government of India Act 1935. So this is our today's topic. So, and just because of that new constitution of the subcontinent, Government of India Act 1935, the British government held elections in the subcontinent in 1937, and because of those elections in all the 9 major provinces of the subcontinent, Congress or Congress allied parties were able to establish their governments over there. So it means that in those elections of 1937, All India Muslim League performed really very poorly and could not even make the governments in the Muslim majority provinces like Punjab and Bengal. And it turned up really very disappointing for All India Muslim League that this political party or the representative political party of the Muslims of the subcontinent could not perform well and could not gain the desired number of seats to make the government in any of the provinces. So that was a greater failure of All India Muslim League up to at that particular time. And there came the Congress rule in the subcontinent, which proved really very fatal and very cruel, very especially for the Muslims and for all other minorities of the subcontinent. So this is what we are going to discuss in today's lecture. That is the Government of India Act 1935, what was in that, and then because of that constitution, how the elections were held, and what was the performance of All India Muslim League over there, and how the Congress ministries ruled the subcontinent in really very pathetic manner. So this is our today's topic. Let's discuss. So moving to the notes I have. Here we have the notes that is related to the Government of India Act 1935, and what were the proposals in that constitution and what was eventually turned up in the form of the act to be imposed in the subcontinent. Federation, it means that the federal system was introduced. It means that the one central government in the capital and all provinces have their provincial governments at the provincial level. Princely states had their own separate system as it was before the act. So bicameral structure, 2 houses parliament, one was known as the Legislative Council and the other one was known as the Assembly. Legislative Council had 150 seats and 104 princely states. So it means that 150 seats plus 104 from the princely states, overall 250 4 seats were there of the executive council, sorry, the legislative council of the new, as per the new constitution. This was the one house, and the other house was the assembly, had 250 seats in all and 125 from the plenary states. So it means that 375 total seats were there of the assembly. So that was the second house, the lower house. Upper house was known as the legislative council, and the lower house was declared as the legislative assembly. So it means that these two figures, they were making overall the legislature. I mean the law making institution. Law making institution. So it means that they introduced the bicameral, I mean two houses parliament. The upper house was known as the legislative council and the lower house was known as the legislative assembly. And council had total 254 seats and assembly had total 375 seats, and the bifurcation is given over here: 150 seats the elected ones and 104 the selected ones from the plenary states, and in the same way 250 seats elected from the population and 125 the selected ones from the plenary states. Point number 3, distribution of seats according to the communal award of 1932. I mean separate electorate for all the communities, including Muslims, Sikhs, local Christians, British Christians, and scheduled castes, the lower caste of the subcontinent. So it means that this was somehow better for the Muslims, that the Muslims were able to have their representation in the assemblies. But what happened, that Muslim League could not perform well. That's why whatever the Muslims won the elections, they all were whether from the Congress party or from the other parties like Unionist Party in Punjab. So it means that the Muslim League performed really very poorly in those elections. Point number 4. For the first time, the provinces were given more authority and power and made them separate entities. I mean, provincial autonomy was awarded. This was the demand of Quaid-e-Azam way back in 1929 in his famous 14 points. Number 5. The system of diarchy was dropped, which was in Monte Chelmsford reforms of 1919, that at that time the diarchy was in the provinces and no diarchy was over there in the Central Assembly. But now what it says, the system of diarchy was dropped at the provincial level but introduced at the central government level. It means that they reversed it. Previously the diarchy was in provinces. Now the diarchy was introduced in the Central Assembly and dropped at the provinces. The same way the British government took the control of the major departments like defense and foreign affairs and the overall the administration of the tribal areas, and for Governor General assisted by 3 appointed councillors to look the matters of these departments over in the subcontinent. So it means that the British still took the greater control over there in their own hands, and they gave education, health, industries, infrastructure, social development, they all given to the locals. The supremacy of the British Parliament remained intact, so no Indian legislature was authorized to notify or amend the constitution. So it means that whatever the councils were made over there, they had no right to amend this constitution. The amendment was only meant for the British government over there in Britain. So it means that they made these executive, the legislative councils and the legislative assemblies for the locals just for making the local laws, but not able to amend the constitution of the subcontinent. Representatives and responsible government at provincial level was introduced. So it means that this was quite better point. The provincial autonomy was awarded. The provincial executive was handed over to the representatives, the people who were accountable before the provincial legislature. So it means that the overall the provincial system came under the control of the locals at that time. I mean, of the people of the subcontinent. NWFP was given the full provincial status in 1935 Government of India Act. So that was the greater success of the Muslims. But what happened next? That in the coming elections of 1937, All India Muslim League also lost over there in the NWFP. Two new provinces of Sindh and Orissa were created, which increased the total number of provinces to 11. Now the overall number of provinces, they came up in 11. Previously they were about 8 to 9. Parliamentary system was introduced and the provinces were given the full autonomy, the same point. So every province was given a council of ministers whose advice was binding on the governor. The property qualification was lowered, which gave 35 million Indians to right to vote, 1/4 of the Indian adult population. So it means that as in the again Monte Chelmsford reforms, only 2% population of the subcontinent was given the right to vote. But in 1935, the new constitution, the 1/4 of the total population of the subcontinent, I mean about 35 million people, got the right to vote. Two houses central parliament, lower assembly contained 250 members elected from British India and 125 nominated from the Princely States. Upper house, the council of states, contained 156 members elected from British India and 104 nominated from Princely States. And I have already explained this one up over here in this phase, the bicameral structure. So now came to the rejection of the Government of India Act. You know, all these things, they got rejected. That's why we moved towards independence. I mean, rejection was must if we were looking for the independence. Special power, the Governor General, I mean, still the Viceroy was the most superior person in the subcontinent with all sorts of veto power with him. So the Viceroy had the superior power to annul any of the law or any of the legislation done by the legislative assemblies, whether the central or the provincial. So it means that Viceroy was still really very strong and he was not giving any authority to the locals in any way. So it means that there was still a sort of dictatorship imposed by the British government through the Viceroy or the Governor General of the subcontinent over here in India without giving any real democratic power to the locals. So directly in center, Viceroy can exert power on reserved subjects. I mean, for example, if we are talking about the finance, it was the power of the Viceroy to decide that which province should be given how much funds to govern, to run the affairs of that province. So it means that again the Viceroy had the veto power to decide that what sort of powers should be used regarding the reserved subjects, whether foreign affairs, whether defense, or whether for the other important subjects like finance. And princes did not like arrangements of central government, so it was not implemented. Only 25% population was allowed to vote. Again, still a larger population was deprived of this right, the political democratic right to vote, but they were not given. So you may get a 7 marks question, that why was the Government of India Act 1935 rejected by the locals? So you can explain 3 reasons out of these in 3 different paragraphs along with the development, along with the evaluation, to gain 7 out of 7. So importance of Government of India Act. Last reforms given by British, which were opposed by Hindus and Muslims, resulting in the expulsion of British. I mean, the things moved toward the independence. This is what I have said, that all the rejections took us towards independence. So this was one of the rejections, that is the Government of India Act was rejected. Provincial autonomy, federal system, that was a better point. Again, it was really very important that the locals, they got the provincial autonomy over here in the subcontinent, and which they were demanding since long. So benefited Muslims in Muslim majority provinces, but threatened them in Hindu majority areas because of the communal award of the separate electorate that was Muslims got better seats in the majority areas, but their minority further reduced to minority in the minority areas where the Hindus were in dominance. So misuse of power by Congress led to growing feeling of nationalism, and there was a sort of you can say disintegration of the subcontinent was on the cards, and the things were moving really very quickly towards independence. So here we have the expected questions related to the Government of India Act 1935. Why was the Government of India Act 1935 so important to the future of the subcontinent? So we have just discussed the importance of these Government of India Act. You may get a 7 marks question. You can explain 3 reasons out of these 4 in the as per the marking scheme, 3 different paragraphs with the development and evaluation to gain 7 out of 7. So this question we have got it in May, June 2011 and October, November 2016. Why was there so much opposition to the Government of India Act of 1935? Again, a 7 marks question, and we have discussed the rejection points over here. So you can explain 3 reasons out of these 4 bullet points, and you can be awarded with these 7 marks given in this question. And this question has come in October, November 2008 and October, November 2012. Explain the importance of the Government of India Act of 1935 to the future of the subcontinent. Again, a 7 marks question. So it means that again, this question and this question, they are the same one. You are supposed to develop the importance of the Government of India Act in 3 reasons. So here we have the next topic, which is related to the Government of India Act. That as per the Government of India Act, the elections were held over here in the subcontinent. Election of 1937, and Muslim League performed really very poorly. As I told you that Muslim League was really very bad in those elections and could not even win the majority of the Muslim population provinces like Punjab and Bengal. So what were the reasons that Muslim League performed really very poorly, and what were the consequences, and how important these elections were for All India Muslim League? So this is what we are going to discuss over here now. Reasons of failure of All India Muslim League in those elections. Number 1 is that this was the first major elections which were going to held in the subcontinent, and Muslim League had no experience of conducting or participating or campaigning in any of the elections. So that was the major reason that Muslim League could not perform well. You can say the lack of planning, that how to plan the election strategy. Muslim League could not design the acceptable or should be really very much implementable policy for the sake of contesting the elections, and it turned out very very bad for All India Muslim League. So image problem, as though Muslim League was only composed of aristocrats. It was a fact that the membership of All India Muslim League, they all were from the elite class, and they all were aristocrats, and they were from the upper class, and they were least bothered to come out and to move towards the poor population of Muslims for the sake of campaigning better to win the elections. They remained inside. They were reluctant to move to the poor population or the underdeveloped or backward areas to convince the people to vote for All India Muslim League. They stayed away and they faced trouble. So not popular among masses, including Muslim majority areas, as they were threatened by the Hindu domination. They were reluctant to go out as they were feeling that they might be facing certain attacks by Hindus over there, and even they could not focus on the majority areas. They were supposed to be in those areas and they could easily win the Muslim majority provinces, but they did not come up and they faced the music. So poor organization and planning, as I had just explained, that they were lacking planning. They had no plans of contesting the election and they could not perform well. Differences and rifts within the party. So there were certain divisions among the party, that the few were not really very much willing to contest under the leadership of Qaid-e-Azam, and few were in the favor of Allama Iqbal, and they were convincing him to be the the one to lead All India Muslim League, but Allama Iqbal had already resigned from the active politics, and he was just focusing on the poetry and his literary work. So he refused, and he just said no, thank you. And so it means that the people who were not working with Jinnah, they you can say did not do well for the Muslim League's campaign, and Muslim League had to suffer a lot. So again, you can have a 7 marks question here, that why did Muslim League perform poorly in the elections of 1937? You can explain three reasons out of these to uh, explain the answer, as I have already told you as per the marking scheme. So importance, again, this can be a 7 marks question. How important were the elections of 1937 for All India Muslim League? So source of experience for league for later elections. So they got some experience, and we have the evidence that just because of this poor experience the Muslim League had got in 1937, because of this experience, they rectified their way, they amended their policies, they planned the elections really well, and they turned up absolutely well in the elections of 1930, 1945, and 46 elections in the coming decade. So it means that now they had the experience in their hands to move on better for the sake of the coming elections. So that was the first point, that Muslim League got the experience of contesting elections, and that was really very good one for them. Had to unify the party, as there were so many factors coming up, and there were so many rifts over there were so many differences, and after the election, Muslim League thought that if Muslim League wanted to achieve the objectives, Muslim League should be united. So after the failure of those elections, Muslim League united itself once again, and this sort of failure was a sort of, you can say, the blessing in disguise for the Muslims to move on in the coming years of the politics. Realized that it had to improve its organization and planning. Improvement, yes. Realized that their main support lies in the Muslim minority areas, so they worked to get support of the Muslim majority areas as well. So Muslim League thought in these elections, Muslim League thought that the majority areas and those areas were neglected. Muslim League did not go to the majority areas just perceiving that these are the majority areas. Definitely, we will get vote from these areas, but it turned up otherwise, that the Muslims voted to the other parties except All India Muslim League, and Muslim League lost. So it was the reason that Muslim League should be focusing on the majority areas as well, but it could not, and that was what we Muslim League started thinking, that now the majority areas are also very very important along with the minority areas. So it means that the campaign should be moving side by side. So I realized the image problem, that even being the aristocrats, even being the people, the leadership was from the elite class, must be going to the poor people for the sake of asking them to vote. So in this way, the image problem should be minimized for the sake of gaining further success in future. And here came the Congress rule, as it was the reason, as I told you, that because of the failure of those elections, the Congress was able to establish its governments or its allies governments over there in all the provinces of the subcontinent. And now there came the cruel rule of Congress from 1937 to 1939. Won elections and formed governments in 8 provinces out of 9 provinces of the subcontinent. Assurance from Viceroy Lethco that governors will not use emergency powers to accomplish their mission. Desired that India is a nation of Hindus through erasing the culture and religion of Muslims. So it was a tyrannical rule of Congress over here in the subcontinent, and it proved really very fatal for not only for the Muslims but all the minority communities of the subcontinent, as it was a sort of slogan by all Indian National Congress that Hindustan was only for Hindus, not for any other community. So that was a sort of issue for the communities. So measures taken by Congress, what cruel rules adopted by Congress over in the subcontinent. Bande Mataram. It was a Hindu nationalist song forced to be sung by Muslims as well as which contained the Hindu commitment to overthrow the Muslims from the subcontinent, and this was the song which proved that which was portraying that Hindustan was only for Hindus. So Muslims were forced to sing that song even in the offices, even in the schools. The Muslim children, they were forced to sing this song. Varda scheme, Hindu-oriented education system, spinning wheel, education over there in the institutions. Then oppression, tyranny done on Muslims. Muslims were killed and abused by Hindus without charges. Hindi enforced as the official language of the subcontinent. Muslim worshippers were attacked, and tricolor flag hosted on government buildings, and no interference by Muslims in the official matters. So it means that Bande Mataram, that was one reason that Muslims, they were forced to sing. Muslim holy places or the worship places, mosques, they were attacked. Muslims were not allowed to perform the religious obligations like slaughtering on Eid al-Azha, and many other restrictions the Muslims started facing over there these 2 years from 1937 to 1939. Very cruel phase this was. You may be getting 4 marks question over here. What was the spinning wheel education system? What was Varda scheme? And what was Bande Mataram? So these sort of questions you may be getting for 4 marks over here. So here are the expected questions which have already come in the past papers related to the Congress rule and elections. Why was Congress rule of 1937 to 39 so hated by the Muslims? 7 marks question. So the same reasons why what I have just explained, Bande Mataram and Varda scheme and the not allowing the Muslims to perform their religious duties. You can explain these 3 reasons to respond to this question. Why did the Muslims object to the rule of Congress party between 37 to 39? The same question with different wordings. The main reason why Congress rule was hated so much by the Muslims was because of the introduction of the Bande Mataram. Do you agree? 14 marks question. So you are supposed to develop 3 reasons for Bande Mataram, and then you are supposed to develop this is your level 3, and you are supposed to develop 3 more reasons apart from Bande Mataram, the other ones like Varda scheme or the not allowing the Muslims to perform their religious duties. So that would be your level 4, and then you will be able to evaluate and give the judgment right in the end. So this is how this question will be attempted. What was the Varda scheme? As I told you that you might be getting a 4 marks question like this. The main reason why Congress rule was hated because of the introduction of Varda scheme. Now they have just switched with Bande Mataram with Varda scheme, but the whole of the question would remain the same. Now level 3 will be of Varda scheme, right? And the rest of the scheme marking scheme would remain the same. Why did Muslim object the rule of the Congress rule? Same question repeated in different years: May June 2013, May June 2012, May June 2010. So in the same way, this question or this topic was repeated. What were the outcomes of the provincial elections of 1937? So you are supposed to explain the paragraph if it comes in the form of question number 1 compulsory, and then it will be of 3 marks. The main reason why Congress rule was hated, so because of the Varda scheme, the same question is repeated again, and it was in the past in October, November 2006. So this is, do you agree that the celebration of Day of Deliverance in 1939 was justified? In 1939, the Congress ministries resigned to build up further pressure on the British as the Second World War had broke out in Europe, and now the British, they were indulged in another war in Europe. just to pressurize the British so that they could easily quit the subcontinent and could easily hand over the charge of the subcontinent to the Congress. So Congress resigned to further pressurize the British as they were already under pressure in war in Europe. So on the resignation of the Congress, Muslim League celebrated Day of Deliverance, Yom-e-Nijat, in 1939. It says that whether it was justified or not. Give reasons to your answer. So we will make 3 reasons related to Day of Deliverance, and then we will move certain other unjustified reasons of this one. And I will surely give the answer to this question in the description of this video. You can download that one from my Google Drive link. Why did Muslim object to Congress rule? Again, repetition. And the declaration of the Day of Deliverance in 1939 was Muhammad Ali Jinnah's greatest achievement in the years 1929 to 1947. So, achievement of Jinnah would be discussed, and Day of Deliverance will be taken as level 3, and 3 paragraphs of this one, and other achievements of Jinnah from 1929 to 1947. For example, the 14 points of Jinnah would be another reason. Then you can say the RTCs, another reason, or you can say the Lahore Resolution, another reason, and one can be the Gandhi Jinnah talks of 1944. That can be. So you can explain any of the 3 reasons over there in level 4 to sum up this question. Was the main reason? Okay, then how success was the main reason why Congress rule was hated so? Because of the introduction of the Bande Mataram. Same question repeated. How successful were the provincial elections held in India in 1937? So the same question, the failure for Muslim League. What happened on Direct Action Day? The 4 marks question. So these are the questions related to these topics, and this is over for today. Do not forget to subscribe my channel RU Speaks. Raja Umar speaks for you for the subjects of Pakistan studies and global perspectives. In the next lesson, inshallah, we will talk about the 4 marks questions from 1927 till 1939, and they will be really very handy for you to make the whole of the question in the best possible way, to explain question 1A 3 marks, 2A 4 marks, 3A 4 marks, 4A 4 marks, and 5A 4 marks. So we are moving along with the 7 and 14 marks question, and I'm also putting in the 4 marks question side by side. So those questions, 4 marks questions, they will be really very much handy for you. I will put the description of those 4 marks questions in my Google Drive link as well. You can download and prepare yourself as well. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.